Hi, we're here at the 2023 Property Portal Watch Conference in Bangkok with Christos from iovox. Christos, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for sponsoring the conference. It's very
Pleasure,
much
as
appreciated.
always.
Now, iovox is all about conversations and understanding, deep understanding of conversations that are occurring between two parties. Tell me more about what you do, and then I want to talk more about how AI and such is coming together to really enhance what you can offer your customers.
Absolutely. So we're communication analytics. We wanted to tell you, first of all, that a phone call has happened. The attribution piece is very, very important. But now we're kind of following that through now from not just attribution, it's what's happened, what are the call outcomes, what are the next actions on the call, what was missed, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Now, when you think about the analysis you can do, it's more than just saying a phone call occurred. How deep can you go in that analysis?
On the phone call, it depends on the market. In some markets, the US, for example, we can go very deep. We can tell you just by the phone number who the person was, details about them, what car they leased, what mobile phone provider they. We can go really, really, really deep on that person, and then link that through the rest of the user journey, and then all of that data can then get pumped into a CRM system, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas in other markets like Europe, they're very limited on that because of the GDPR requirements.
So, and you can also interpret what's happened in the conversation, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And what are some of the applications of that?
Some very useful ones that I think we discussed a bit yesterday in the presentation is around understanding missed opportunities. But in the property space particularly, we're talking about financial service leads, we're talking about seller leads. It's quite remarkable at how bad a job some agents do.
Yeah.
They miss the signs, they miss the reads, or quite frankly, they haven't got the time or the inclination to do it. So this is like a great kind of catch-all. Pump it back in, management get aware of it, everyone kind of keeps everyone on their toes, and the value doesn't get lost.
Okay, now then let's sort of start to look into the future. Do you think we'll ever get to the point where the real-time conversation with us is being interpreted, and I, as the salesperson, for example, are getting prompted almost in my ear, or at least in front of me, with what to ask you next?
Absolutely, we can get there. There's so many new applications. ChatGPT is changing things. We can get there. How long it takes is the question. The technology is still not quite there to be able to do that in real time. One of the very difficult things is we're talking about phone calls a lot here. Phone calls are very, very difficult to transcribe accurately because of the terrible, terrible sound file you're dealing with.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that the technology needs to improve to be able to get that done properly in real time.
Yes. The one thing I've noticed is that Siri on my phone, on my watch, seems to be listening a lot to me and interpreting what I'm saying. But what I've noticed is it's getting better and better at doing that job. Either it's learning about me and my accent, etc. But I think overall they're starting to get a better understanding of the sort of questions. So if we roll the clock forward and we're having this conversation, say in 5 years' time, what do you think the iovoxes of the world are going to be offering their customers?
I think I'm hoping that we'll get to something you hit on a little bit before, where you will be able to have an agent, whether it's on their mobile phone, whether they're in a call center, it doesn't really matter, where it's this person needs a mortgage, you missed it, then you can go follow back up in real time rather than having to do the current cycle, which is post call, this was missed, pump it back round, make another phone call out, and that saves a huge amount of time and effort.
It's about capturing that moment of truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, just quickly on, you got a bunch of customers at the moment who clearly get a lot of value out of iovox. What are some of the sort of the stats that you're seeing? Higher conversion rates and so on. What are some of the great outcomes?
I think a great case study is around financial services and the vendor leads. Agents aren't asking questions. Like stat we mentioned yesterday, 18% of applicant calls were asked if they had something to sell. Just 18% of calls. That should be a question that should be asked on 100% of calls.
Yes.
And just by making that really, really obvious and in the face of all the agents constantly, that 18% increases. And as every percentage that increases, you're adding a huge amount of potential seller leads, financial services leads in there.
It's scary if what you're saying is 82% of the time the person on the call doesn't ask the most basic questions. Do you have the money? Do you need the money? And how can I help you secure a mortgage, for example, in a You know,
If we flip that onto just a marketplace, the volume of calls we're dealing with, dealing with often millions and millions of calls a month.
yeah.
You move that dial 1 or 2% of calls. That's a really, really meaningful volume of calls. And then you start extrapolating that up in terms of financial services, in terms of the commissions you can make on selling. It's a huge amount for a very little improvement.
Fantastic. I like what iovox does. Thank you very much for coming to the conference. Thank you for sponsoring the conference.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for
and
having
I
us.
look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks, Christos.
Thanks.
See you.